Hi, everybody. I'm here with AnYes van Rhijn, and she is the Reinvention mentor for the Love of Health web show. Thanks for being with us today, AnYes.
It is my pleasure to be here. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. I came across AnYes, and we were both in a networking group together. And so this is the fruition of a few conversations that we've had. I'm very excited for this conversation, and I know that you guys will be too. So AnYes is currently working on a couple different things that I want to bring to your focus today. One of those things is she's developing a cohort, and the whole idea of a cohort. AnYes, can you describe what exactly that is and why that could benefit your online-based business?
Well, actually, when I say a cohort, it's because I have been running it multiple times. So this is the new cohort, but it is a 5-week online program that is focusing on helping women get a very clear vision of what they want for their life and also how their business is going to support that. Because we tend as business owners to just go with the flow. We have this idea of this or that, etc. But we are not necessarily connecting that to the bigger picture. And I helped them develop that bigger picture and then give them all the tools so that they can actually turn it into reality. So it's all about designing and manifesting the ideal life that you want to see for yourself and the business that will support it. Yes, that's what I'm currently working on. And I've had raving reviews from the previous cohorts.
So what is a cohort exactly? If you could...
A cohort, it might be that it's a terminology, you know that English is my third language. So maybe I am using the wrong term. I just mean that it's another, how do you say that? What I call a cohort is a new group of people together. So the cohort is the participants together. So it's a new group of people, if you prefer.
And how do you facilitate this? Are you doing like an online Facebook group, or are you meeting in some other channel?
So what's particular with that course is that they are in total immersion with their vision for 5 weeks. And I have a whole process for that. And that's what makes the difference with, a short workshop of 3 hours to put a vision board together. The vision board is only a tiny aspect of all of it. So they receive a lesson every day, one lesson per day, and it builds up. They build up on each other. And in parallel of that, there's a private Facebook group, of course, where they get all the support they need, but also weekly 90 minutes Q&A calls where they can ask me anything.
I really like that. I like that you just explained that, because it, for someone, I'm like, oh, reinvention. Yes, long-term vision. But what you just said was so key, that there are multiple steps to it, not just one. And you put it so well that it's not just the vision board. The vision board is that small, like little chunk of it, but that there's this whole entire other process. But also what you said about immersion. I love that. Immersion into your vision for 5 weeks.
Yes, what is happening is that so I have a whole process that I unfold, but by being constantly connected to it every single day, even during the hours where you're not working on it, it's there, it's in your head because you've been working on it, and every day again you are working on it. So that's much more powerful. You have this mental imagery of what your life looks like. You feel what your life is going to look like. And then the type of things that we are looking into is, okay, once they've created the vision, and the vision is invariably bigger than they thought it would, they then are being stopped, because of course what happens? Fear kicks in. Who am I? To think that I can do this, etc. So then I give them the tools to know how to identify that they are in a place of fear, and then also give them the tools to deconstruct that fear and take action, because the true antidote to fear ultimately is action. And then from there we look at, how do you stay connected to that vision on a daily basis? Because if it's just, a nice picture on the wall, or even worse, behind a wardrobe or whatever, nothing is going to happen. So from there, we then look into the action plan. What do you need to have achieved in 3 years? What do you need to have achieved in 1 year? What are your 90-day goals? What are you going to work on this week? And how do you stay intentional and focused every single day so that you are really focusing on the vision, on what you want to achieve, and not get distracted by all the distractions that life will bring you, because it will.
I love when you say that the true antidote to fear is action. Love that.
You know what? How often have you been dreading to do something? And the moment you do it, you go like, oh my God, was that all there was about it? We all have that. The true antidote to fear is action, yes. I always say, you know, the acronym false evidence appearing real that is used for the word fear. I have a very simple definition for fear. It's nothing more than the anticipation of something that may happen, but that probably won't. It's as simple, because we create it here. It's not a fact. It's just something we imagine, and quite often it doesn't happen. More often than not, it doesn't happen.
So tell us, AnYes, how you got into this work and some of your success stories along the way. How did you become this role for other people?
Well, to start with, so I was living in France. I have Dutch roots. Both my parents were Dutch. I grew up bilingual, bicultural, but I grew up in France, and I've lived most of my life in France. So I was in the corporate world 25 years, high-level positions, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, I thought, I want more from life. This is not the life that I wanted for myself. And that's the type of women that I work with, of course, the ones who think, I want more from life. And I'm ready to do something about it. So they're action takers. So I decided that I wanted to do a reconversion. Ended up, to make that story short, becoming an executive coach. Did that for 8 years. Ended up thinking, no, this is still not what I want to do. I love the coaching, I love the mentoring, but I want to do it for women, and I want to do it for women entrepreneurs. And so I switched. I did that. So the whole framework that I had developed over the years, I've just adapted it. My toolkit was readapted to that specific audience. And to me, the notion of reinvention is all about you choosing to step in the driver's seat of your life. You choosing that from now on, I want to make my conscious choices. You may not necessarily know yet how, but that is something that I can help you with. We will clarify that. I have a lot of success stories, but I am tempted to think that the biggest success story that I have is myself, because I ended up, after those 8 years as an executive coach, to also leave a toxic relationship in France, very clearly knowing that I would lose absolutely everything in doing so. And I did. I was 57. I had to move in with one of my sisters. I lived with her and her family for 1 year. That's not so it went very well, but that's not the easiest thing to do when you're 57. And I made 2 major decisions out of that. A, I didn't want to work as an executive coach anymore. I wanted to work with female entrepreneurs. And B, where am I living? I told you my roots are Dutch. I've lived in the Netherlands. I've lived most of my life in France. I've never felt home in France. I've never felt home in the Netherlands. And I decided to move to London in the UK. And that happened 7 years ago, almost 7 years and 1 month. And I arrived in London at 58 with just 2 suitcases. No income, no savings. I'd lost everything. Just 8 weeks of house sitting. And that got the ball rolling. But when I'm being asked, how did you manage to rise from your ashes? I had a very clear vision. I knew what I wanted to achieve, because for me, instead of stepping into victimhood and thinking, oh my God, what he has done to me, blah, blah, blah. So this is an amazing opportunity to reconsider all my choices in life and business. And so I created that vision. Then the other thing is, I know how to handle fear. because as I always say, you can imagine that I've had a few panic attacks here and there at 3 o'clock in the morning, wondering what the next day would bring. And I know how to take action. The other very important thing is that mindset is so incredibly key. Even if I had nothing, I never, ever felt poor. I was feeling abundance. And that's really a mindset thing. So every single day I was grateful for what I had. I wasn't sleeping rough. I wasn't sleeping on the street. I had a roof. I was house sitting. But from what happens when you have that abundance mindset, to start with, your vibration is higher. So you attract very different things to yourself than when your vibration is very low. And you start attracting opportunities to yourself. But you have the capacity to see them, because we all have opportunities, but most of the time we just don't see them. So it's knowing what to look for. It's knowing how to recognize the signs. And to give you one example, less than 3 months later, I was still house sitting. I had still no income. And in the UK, I don't know how it works in the US, etc. But if you don't have a permanent address, you don't have a bank account. So I was still living with my French visa, which was also making it very expensive. And my sister was sending the money from the furniture that she was still selling for me. That's what I was living with. But I had the opportunity to buy the franchise of a female business network here in London. And we're talking about 10,000 of pounds. I didn't have 5. But I would normally have thought, oh, what a shame, I would love to, but I can't. And so for me, again, I am very Dutch, systems, tool, automation, etc. But I'm also very much into the law of attraction and etc. So one of the universal laws says that is the law of polarity. So that means that if there's a problem, there is a solution. But to find a solution, you must think out of the box, because in that box, it was saying, what a shame, I would love to, but I can't. And so I just thought, what do I need for myself? All I need is money for food and money for to pay for a bedroom. And I come from a very big house that I was living in on my own. Oh, that's all I need. Money is not going to define my level of happiness. And so I made an offer to pay back over 4 years. And she accepted. 2 weeks later, I was the owner of the network. So that's an example of when you are thinking differently, when you have a vision, when you're taking action, when you are not afraid of taking risks. And I'm not talking about stupid risks, of course. I mean, to that extent, I'm a bit too Dutch, probably. It's about taking measured risks. And yeah, it got the ball rolling. And now I run 2 successful businesses because I still run that female business network. So if that isn't a good example of a successful reinvention, I don't know what is. But what is important to me is that I want to inspire women to dream bigger and dare more. So that so that they can reach their full potential. And it doesn't mean that it is not scary. Of course it is scary. But fear, it's not because fear will always be there, that it means that you can't do it.
Wow, well, that was amazing. I think that hearing your story, like hearing all the things that you've been through, and then also like being able to be in that space where like just asking for what you wanted and what you needed, right? Like in those moments, like it could be a no, but it also could be a yes. So we just don't know unless we ask. And
Exactly.
it sounds like that's exactly what happened, and you were able to get an opportunity that really changed so many things for you.
Absolutely. What happened in that moment is that I remember that my father was always saying in Dutch that you already have the no, you could have the yes. So the no is you don't have the network. And in other words, if you don't try, you don't know. Exactly what you just said. And that's what my father always said. And so I was just taking my chances. But in particular women, we have the fear of being rejected, and we associate something, this notion of rejection, with us being rejected. If she had said no, it would have been a rejection, but just a rejection of the offer, not of me. So I would not have taken that personally, where one of the many things that is very often stopping women is that we will take things personally, and we think it's us being rejected. It's never us being rejected.
Yeah, I like how you say that it's the offer that's being rejected, not us. We can always rechange the offer, we can reframe the offer, but not the goal. We can change how we're going about to seek the goal, but we shouldn't change the goal if it's outright.
Yeah, when it is the right vision for you, and the process that I'm using is really helping you define that. I always say, when you go through life without a vision, it's like leaving home for a very long journey and forgetting to put an address in your GPS. You could land anywhere. But the other interesting thing is that we then tend to believe that we need to know how we will get there. No, all you need is to know what your next step is. You are, of course, going to map out, but you have the flexibility because you have entered that address in your GPS. So if on the journey, suddenly there are roadblocks and you have to turn left instead of right, it doesn't matter because you know that your GPS will course correct and bring you back. So that's how you go. And the other analogy that I make, it's funny because I'm not at all into cars, but my analogies tend to be about cars, is that if you're driving at night and you've entered an address in your GPS, you don't see the road, you just see the road as it's unfolding. And you trust that your GPS will bring you there. So just know what the next step is. Another example that I take, I'm quite bad at remembering stories, but there is this story about, I don't know, somewhere in the Kilimanjaro or something like that. So you have those people who want to climb the Kilimanjaro, and at some point, say halfway through, they come across two old local women, and they go like, "Oh my God, what are they doing here? How did they get here?" And so they ask. And the two women look at them, at each other, and they go like, very surprised. Well, just one foot after the other. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Where we tend to get very overwhelmed is that when we have that vision, so we see the top of the mountain, we immediately look at the whole mountain. No, you need to break it down in steps. And what is your next step? As long as it's in the right direction, you're good to go.
So what kind of dreams do you think the world needs right now, especially for women?
I am playing right now with what I call the new paradigm woman. It's a movement that I want to start because I am absolutely convinced that the world needs women to become a better place. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean as in against men. I believe that we need both female energy and masculine energy. It's about masculine energy and feminine energy, not about men and women. Men need more feminine energy, women need more masculine energy, if I make that as a shortcut. But I think that I want to be an activist for women who are dreaming bigger and daring more, but a positive activist. What do I mean with that? When you are an activist in a traditional term, you're fighting against something, and that is negative energy. And negative energy doesn't lead you anywhere. Positive activism for me is leading by example and spreading what works. I'm a very firm believer in the power of role modeling and the power of ripple effect. If I am having a positive influence on the people around me, by definition, the people around me will have a positive influence on the people around them. It won't work for everyone, but that's how it will start spreading. But for that, we need to step out of the mold that has been assigned to women of what they are supposed to be and how they are supposed to behave, and etc. Which means I have a very holistic approach. It's not just about the business. It's not just about the money. It's about your health. You need to be healthy. If you are in a healthy body, well, I don't need to tell you that. If you are in a healthy body, your vibration becomes very different. You feel better. You can do more, and etc. If you are working on healing the wounds that you have, you are going to relate better to yourself. If you relate better to yourself, you are going to relate better to others. It will start shifting the relationships that you have. The balance in a romantic relationship should also change. I had the example again 2 days ago, if I remember well, and it made me cringe again. This woman who was inquiring about mentoring with me. And that has a cost. It's an investment. It's a transformation. And I could really see that she wanted it, that she absolutely wanted it. And then, of course, at some point, how much is it? And I told her. And the answer that I'm hearing so often, I need to ask to my husband. And that to me should never be. In a relationship, from a financial perspective, that's how I see it. Each should have their bank account, and there should be a common bank account for the common spendings that they both feed with whatever arrangement they have agreed upon. But what each of them then does with their money, it's not a matter of asking, may I? And of course, it's far more often the woman who's asking, may I, than the other way around. So that to me is the type of things that shouldn't happen. So it's all about women expressing their needs, women being assertive. And there's a misconception about assertiveness, is that people think it's aggressivity. Aggressivity, is that the word? Yes.
Yes.
It's not, it's the opposite. Assertiveness is the capacity to express your needs while not being aggressive to the other. It's not saying you are this or you are that. It's when you do this, this is what it does to me. I just want you to know. And then from that place, it's being coherent and consistent. So not saying that one day and then 2 days later, go back to your old habits. It means it's standing up for yourself, but not in an aggressive way. It's growing. And I think it grows the relationship. It grows the example, the role model that you are for your children. I know someone who she has 4 daughters. She kept going back to the relationship, completely toxic. And her explanation of it is, my daughters need him. And I said to her, what example? Sorry, I didn't finish. My kids need him, so I want to sacrifice myself for the happiness of my daughters. And I said, what example are you giving to your daughters of what a normal relationship is and what the role of a woman is? That to me is not okay. So it turns out that she's ended up leaving him, but that's a side note. So yeah, it's that type of things that need to become different. I do believe that because we are not wired the same way as men are, I think that if more women were at peace with the notion of it's okay to make money. And don't get me wrong, I've been fighting against that for decades, thinking that no, I'm here to help people. I shouldn't ask for money. If they were at peace with the notion of it's okay to be wealthy, the more wealth they have, the better it's for them, for the loved ones, but also that they will spend their extra money on very different things than men would do that. And that can be, investing in the local community. I know someone who is helping women set up their business. It's that type of things. I believe that women should be financially and emotionally independent. And sorry, you really got me started on the topic. I can talk for hours on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you brought some really excellent points. And so what I'm hearing is that you want a huge paradigm shift. And it just sounds like you're really there for people in those important moments for taking responsibility for themselves and reframing some of these harmful things that come into their mind, or the repetitive things that come into their mind, their go-to answers when
Yeah, and we
making
that.
when making
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah, so I have a whole framework that I work with my clients. But what I have what I came to peace with is that originally, like when we service-based people like that, we want to help. I want to help everyone. And I have finally understood that I cannot help everyone. I can only help people who really want to be helped. So for instance, one thing that I've stopped doing is giving away my time for free, because it doesn't work. People who are not seeing the value of the transformation, they are not doing the work. And so I know that I will have more impact by working with women who want to invest the time, the energy, the money to make a difference in their world, and by ripple effect the people around them, and more. Even if they don't know yet how to do it, they may not yet know what it is, and they're scared to death, because we all are. We all are afraid, because, personal growth is never linear. We have stages, and when we're ready to go to the next stage, there we go, we expand again. And so at every level of expansion, my gosh, you start peeling the onion again. There's another layer of something that you thought you had sorted that's coming up again, because it's just deeper. And that's how we keep growing, keep growing, keep growing.
And do you consider yourself like personal coaching, life coaching?
That's a very interesting question. I am a trained, certified, multiple even, life coach and business coach. And I do work with professional women. So it's about looking at the business, but as the business to support the life. So in reality, I'm first a life coach, because I don't believe you can have all the strategies, the techniques in the world to run a business. If you have not healed your wounds, if you have not shifted your mindset from a scarcity one to an abundance one, etc., if you have not shifted how you relate to money and to success, that type of things, it will fire back at one point or another. So that's why the approach that I have is really holistic. I have just been, well, it's not I have been, I am currently working with a woman who came from the angle of the business. She wanted me to help her grow the business, but based on the limiting beliefs that she had. So because I don't work with women who want to scale their business to 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever. I'm not interested in. I will send them to someone else. In her case, she knew that she had limiting beliefs that were preventing her. And what she said, she wrote recently that I have completely shifted how she looked at her professional life. She's now daring things that she never thought she would be daring, but it has had an impact on her finances, was not the purpose. It has had an impact on her parenting, was not the purpose. And it has had an impact on her relationship, romantic relationship, was not the purpose. But that's what happened. You cannot, when you work on things that are deep like that, you cannot just impact one area of your life. It's going to impact everything.
Thank you so much, AnYes, for coming on the web show today, talking to us about how, even though our work might seem so technical and, every day the same, there really are that many shades of gray to our work. There's many dimensions and lots of things going on underneath the surface. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Very welcome.